Welcome to the Washington Defender Grassroots. I'm your host, Pastor Brian Noble, and I am so glad that you are here today. I thank you that you are able to just take those steps to steward the public square. And as you know, we're going to cover some bills in our Defender Grassroots time. We're also going to look at how to use some technology to make your life maybe hopefully a little bit easier and that kind of thing. I do have one account I got to reconnect here real quick. So we'll do that really quick and we'll get all these accounts going. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, we're live on all accounts now. There we go. I'm not sure why we've been having those problems. So I hope that you're here. A couple things about Family Policy Institute of Washington and FPIW Action is that we are here to defend and advance biblical values in the public square. We are your largest Christian-based public square or legislative policy organization in the state of Washington. And what I mean by that is we look at the Bible, we look at the Word of God, and we say, how, to the best of our ability, do we look at this position? So if you have questions as we go, let me put up the comments here. You can check it out. I'm going to be using a couple of different tools today. I'm going to use the Washington Defender app. And so you can look at the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and look for Washington Defender. There you go. And you can check those out there. There we go. So Washington Defender app, you can search Washington Defender, and that will get it so that you can follow along if you would like to on the app. I will also be using today FPIW Action, which is our 501c4 website. So if you are wanting to follow along on a web browser, fpiwaction.org, and there you go. Okay, so you can check those out there. Also, I want to remind you of our approach. We have 4 closed-handed items: life, parental rights, biblical marriage, and religious liberty. Those 4 items really do we know the answers to very easily. So if a bill is about life from conception to natural death, we know the answer to that. If a bill is about parental rights, the parents are the primary guardian, we know the answer to that. If the bill is about religious liberty and freedom of speech, we know the answer to that. If the bill is about biblical marriage between one man, one woman, we know the answer to that. We have 26, I believe it is, other policies that we follow. And so sometimes we don't know the answer. They're not as clear, but they are in the Bible. God has stuff to say about the environment, about justice, about these things as we go. But we will do our best. And I can tell you that sometimes my wife and I don't even agree on these different topics. And so it's okay. It's all right. God's got a plan, and He knows I'm right. I'm just kidding. But he's going to work through that, and we're going to go forward. So we may not get the other ones right, and that's okay. So we're going to look at 4 bills today, but I do want to show you some exciting news. You guys are doing such a tremendous job of registering your positions and letting your voice be heard in Olympia. So let me share my screen here. And the first thing I want to make you aware, this is on fpiwaction.org, and here it is, the app. It has that little logo right there, and you can check that out as we go. So I'll click on the app just to get it open and get it going, and then I will click on. I want to show you this bill library because you have been working hard out there to register your position on these different bills. So far, you've done about 373 bills that you responded to an action alert or had been put into our library. So that was fpiwaction.org bill library right there. And so good job on that. We're letting our voice be heard in Olympia, and that's what we want to do. Now, somebody say, well, how do you get to that bill library on the app? And here's how you do that. You go right below all these things here, and you're going to find the bill library. I think I went too far. Oops, it's skipping on me here. It's the mirroring. There it is. Bill library right there, and it will bring you right over to that. We do tell you the top bills that we want you to follow, and then we give you these are the 30 different um, areas that we follow. So, addiction and mental health, agriculture, citizenship and immigration, crime and public safety, criminal justice, community concerns, economy, elections, energy and utilities, and the list goes on and on. So, within these 30 different items, four of those are closed-handed items that we know the answers to very clearly in scripture. So here we go. So now we're going to go over back to the beginning here, and we are going to look at some specific bills today. And the first one that I want to talk to you about is Senate Bill 6049. Senate Bill 6049. And let's go down here and find it in both the action alerts. And I think this is a bill for tomorrow. 6049 Senate Bill. There it is, 6049, and let's go over here and find it. Senate bill, it's at 9:30, so we'll scroll down to 9:30 and find Senate Bill 6049. Oh, there it is right there, technology. So a couple things about this. Bills come into either the House or the Senate, and then they go to a committee. They're assigned to a committee. They're actually placed in the hopper, and then they're given to a committee. And that committee has some hearings. And during that process, we have the ability to register our position as, you know, citizens in the state of Washington, to let those elected officials know how we feel about these bills. So on Senate Bill 6049, we are saying con. We're saying thumbs down on this bill. And so we're asking you to register your position. FPIW Action's asking you to register your position on this bill as a negative. So you can see that the action deadline's at 9:30 tomorrow morning. And then we give you two buttons. This red text here is register con. And this text here on the website is click here to testify in person, remotely, or in writing. Now, here we give you on the app the same thing. Action deadline, 9:30 a.m. Friday con on SB 6049. Give you a brief summary, and then click here to register position con, and click here to testify verbally or in writing. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about this bill. Senate Bill 6049 dramatically expands government secrecy around student and employee information in ways that conflict with Washington tradition of open government and with FPIW Action's priorities of transparency, parental rights, and accountability. So this is one of those bills that, remember, it's one of our closed-handed items that we really want the parent to be the parent, not the government to be the parent. And I guess if you want the government to be the parent, you're probably not going to align with FPIW Action. 6049 insulates public agencies and schools from scrutiny by broadening exemptions in the Public Records Act for personal and educational related information, shifting the default from transparency to secrecy. The bill makes it harder for parents, citizens, watchdogs to uncover misconduct, discrimination, or ideological indoctrination in schools and government workplaces because key investigative and personnel records remain hidden or heavily redacted. By restricting access even when the investigations are complete, SB 6049 undermines accountability for abusive and discriminatory behavior by public employees while still forcing taxpayers and families to bear the consequences. So we don't think that this is a bill that we should be supporting. FPIW Action affirms that parents, not the state, are entrusted by God with the care and moral formation of their children, and that government's role is to respect and support parental rights. SB 6049 makes it harder for parents to verify what is happening in the classroom and districts on issues of curriculum, discipline, sexual identity policy, safety incidences, and ideological programming because key records can be withheld or stripped of meaningful identifiers. So this is one of those bills we need you to take action on. This is Senate Bill 6049. The bill also discourages whistleblowers and victims who want public accountability because even when they are willing for their story to be known, agencies default to redaction and secrecy rather than truth and reform. So again, if you're just coming on, we're talking about Senate Bill 6049. You can find that bill in the Washington Defender app right here. And let me just back out and come back in so you can know where that is. So here we have the app. You can go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, download it, and go right here into, well, it would be over here. So I'm talking about this Senate Bill 6049. And you can see we need to testify on this by tomorrow by 9:30 tomorrow. If you want additional information besides this one sentence, you can click on here, and it's gonna give you some additional information. Okay. So on my sheet over here, down here on this screen, it says that the bill shields individual survey responses and large pools of demographic data from the public view, except in heavily uh, anonymized forms, limiting the public's ability to evaluate whether agencies are using identity-based data to drive divisive or discriminatory practices. FPIW action supports technology and privacy policies that protect citizens from undue intrusion, exploitation, or harm, but also insists that government act with prudence, transparency, and integrity. These standards this bill weakens by making government itself harder to examine. And then we just really believe that our government should be transparent. And I think some things in different parts of the world and also in Washington would not have happened if there was transparency and honesty. Um, so if you're going to testify on this bill, we're going to ask you to oppose 6049 because it puts a cloak of secrecy over our schools and public agencies at the very time Washington families most need transparency, parental access, and honest accountability from their government. So if you are agreeing with us on Bill SB 6049 that we should go con, put that in the comments. You know, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. We would love to have you interact with us as we are doing these shows. So let's register con. I've looked at it. I've looked at all the references for this bill. I think we have this right, and I think we're ready to register our position. Anyone have a opposing thought? You can put that in the. If I'm missing something, you can put that in the comments as well. We really want this to be a place where we can express different ideas. So let's see here. Let's do it on the app. Lyle Dack says, I agree. We need government transparency. Thank you, Mr. Dack. Anyone else out there? Are you opposing? Are you supporting? We're just reading through the bill and telling you that SB 6049 needs a thumbs down and say no to this bill. We need government transparency, not hidden things from parents and from public disclosures. Anyone else? All right, so let's register our position on this bill. You guys ready to dive on in there and make it happen? Now, so I've been asked, where does this go? And do our legislators have to follow it? So when our legislators sit down before committee, they get a report. It's really a report on a screen that says, 5,000 pros for this and 10,000 cons for this, or whatever the numbers are. Usually they're pretty small, 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever they might be. And so they can see who's registered their position on this. Now, I had at an event I was at this last weekend, one of the elected officials come up and say, hey, Brian, I was really surprised that you registered your position in this way on this bill. And I said, well, a couple things might have happened. I could have hit the wrong button. One. Number two is I could have gotten it wrong. And number three is I got it right and we just don't agree. So whatever that might be. But, you read through it, you do your best to do what you can. So here's how you do it. You click here to register your position, and you're going to see that flips you out to the ledge.wa.gov site. Or you can click right here on the website, click here to register position. And so now, looking at the top, this hearing is tomorrow at 10:30, but we got to get our testimony in by 9:30. So, and it's Senate Bill 6049, students, employees. So Senate here, it's going to be in room Senate hearing room number 2 and also virtual. So I can do this on either one of these. I'll do it over here because my autofill is set up better on my phone. So I'm going to click con, and then I'm going to click my autofill. Oops, I clicked the wrong button. Go back in there. I'm going to click con, and then I'm going to click my autofill, and I'm going to put that right in there. And then autofills, I'm going to autofill my phone number. And I'm not a robot. And I just told my legislator how I feel about that bill. I could have done the same thing over here. I'm not going to do it twice because that wouldn't be right. But I let him do it. Now, when I come back to here, some of you say, we don't see what you're hitting. I'm clicking right here at the top. This says Washington Defender. And it has a back arrow. When I click back to this website, I'm going to click done. So I know that I've done that bill. The web version does not have a done button, unfortunately, because remember, you're logged in to this. You're not logged into this. Okay. So that's a big difference between those two items. So that's bill number one that we're going to talk about today. And we did it. We told the legislators, yay, that we don't want this bill. All right, let's go to another. Let's go to one. Let's see. Let's do one that we actually prayed about this last week or today. I guess it was earlier because I want to show you what happens. We're going to go to learn and under grow in the God's word right here, the grow button. You can go down here, and our lobbyist Brad Payne is giving you bills to pray about. Oh, by the way, if you haven't read this devotion, I am forewarned. I am foreknown by God. Boy, do I encourage you to do that. That's a good one. All right. So we can go into here, strategic prayer, SB 6104. Brad gives us the public square issue. This is on food supply. And so 6104, you can read about it, see the prayer, and then pray the scriptures, and there you go. So this particular bill has already gone past the committee. So you can testify about this. So if we go up here, we go Senate Bill 6104. You can search, and there's the strategic prayer we were just in, or the action deadline was actually today at 12:30, and we're saying pro on this bill. So this button, Register Pro, if you click on it, it doesn't work anymore because it's after the committee hearing. And so it's not going to do anything. So when we go back over to here, we can testify, though, up to, I think, 24 hours after the bill. So there you go, agricultural impact, and we can go, I would like to submit written testimony. That's all that's left that we can do. So you can do that, and right here. But let me tell you about this bill. This is Senate Bill 6104. Bring up my notes here, 61 in my research. Senate Bill 6104 is Food Economic Availability and Security Over Time Act, is a pro-agriculture, pro-stewardship reform that requires state regulators to account for farm impact, protect farmland, and keep Washington's agricultural economy viable. So this is one of those bills for our farmers, and we want you to consider doing it. Let me give you a breakdown of this bill. Senate Bill 6104, the bill declares that Washington's agricultural economy is in crisis, with negative farm income, 2 farms a day closing since 2017, and hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland lost. It establishes a state policy to promote a stable food supply by maintaining a healthy agricultural economy and preventing state regulations from unnecessary harming farmers' ability to grow and sell food. Okay. So how many of you like to eat? And how many of you think that our food should be grown locally and not abroad? I mean, I think it's great that we can get cheap vegetables and cheap fruit from all over the world and eat them out of season. And I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but we do all do this to a certain degree. I think overall, we should grow those things locally, and do that. What Put in the comments your thoughts about how farming should take place and where our agriculture and our goods should come from. Should we outsource it to the entire world, or is that something that we should primarily grow locally? All right. So thinking about this, what the bill actually does requires agencies like the DNR, Ecology, Fish and Wildlife, Commerce, LNI, Forest Practice Board, Conservative Commission to integrate agricultural viability into planning and rulemaking using interdisciplinary methods. In other words, they got to think about the impact on the local farmer. Creates an agricultural focused fiscal note process in the Office of Financial Management. When legislators request it, includes 2-year and 6-year forecasts of regulatory cost impacts to agriculture. So this is one of those things that we need to make sure that we're not penalizing our farmers, and that we see that more and more of these farms are closing down because it's just not viable any longer. So we want to make sure our farming is local and is going. Stewardship of the land and livelihood. By requiring agricultural impact statements and mitigation for loss beneficial use, SB 6104 treats farmland as a God-given trust, not just a blank state slate for regulations. So I don't know about you, but we see farming in the Bible, we see land stewardship in the Bible, and we need to protect our food supply. And so I think that is incredibly important and have it grown locally and more available from, from the Yakima Valley area or Tri-Cities area, all those kind of things. So stewardship of the land and livelihoods by requiring agricultural impact statements, we are going to see that God's uses transparency and accountability, agricultural specific fiscal notes, and economist consultations give legislators and the public honest information about the real cost of new laws and regulations on farms. We are over regulating our farmers. And so this helps us dive in. SB 6104 is a Food Economics Availability and Security Over Time Act. It protects Washington families by keeping our farms alive and our food supply stable, even as the state pursues environmental goals. So these environmental impact things that we have going on are a bunch of hogwash. It's worshiping the land instead of worshiping the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And so we are over regulating our farmers, quite frankly, and we need to find a way to both steward the land with excellence, to cultivate and keep the land, yet not outprice, our goods and close down farms. FPIW Action believes government should exercise stewardship, justice, and compassion, and SB 6104 embodies those principles by defending those who feed our state from being regulated out of existence. So that's what we believe this bill is about. Any thoughts on SB 6104? So I want to show you how to testify on this really quick, just in writing. Okay, so you're going to want to, let's see, someone's just texting me here. Let's see if it's if they have a question. So you're going to want to testify with that in writing because we've already missed the pro con deadline. So let me show you how to do that real quick. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it over here. I think this has already fallen off. It has. So let's do it through the bill library. So we'll go down here. Come on, bill library. All right. So we are going to go testify on this bill in writing. So here we are in the bill library. And there's a couple ways I can do it. I can go to agriculture right here. Click on that and look for the bill. Senate Bill 6104. There it is. Okay. Bill summary. There we go. So we can go here and we can look at it and we can say, I need to, I'm noticing my quick link goes here. So what I would do is I click on this little button here. It's going to take me over to ledge.wa. See how I filled it in. All right. And then I'm going to sign up to submit written testimony. And I'm on 6104. I want to submit my written testimony. And on 6104, we're saying pro. And then we're going to autofill. And then we are going to type a couple talking points from this. And so let's stand with Washington farmers so that they are not over-regulated and that we have food security here in Washington state. We'll correct that a little bit here. So, overregulated. Okay, and then I don't know if there's anything else that that you're thinking. Any other comments that you think I should put on this particular bill that I mentioned? Let's see. 6104, transparent accountability, agriculture specific fiscal notes. I'm going to put this in that we should copy paste this in from my talking points. Protecting family food supplies. We want to recognize that when farmland, family churches, and communities lose local food, jobs established, it makes a stable food supply a clear state policy goal. Okay. So we're going to testify on that. We got pro, we got all that. And then we're going to say, I'm not a robot. And we just submitted our testimony in writing to our elected officials. All right. So there you go. That's how you testify in writing. Sometimes if you want, you can take portions of this and put it in there if you agree with it, from the bill library. Some people like to do that and move forward. Thoughts, questions? We're going to cover 2 more bills and then we're going to be done as we go. So thoughts or questions, or maybe you have a question on a bill that I'm not a bill expert on every single bill, but I can look it up for you and show you the process of how we look at these bills and do a little bit of research on them. All right. So one quick announcement before I go on to another bill. Let's see. So that was 6104. Okay, let's go back to activate. Here we go. All right. So we did 6049 right there. We did 6104. So let's try 6214. And actually right next door. So 6214, we'll go back to FPIW action and we are going to go back to our action alerts. And here we go. We're looking for 6214. And this is at 9:30, 6214. There it is. So this is a hearing that we have at action deadline by 9:30 tomorrow. And let me bring up my notes here. 6214. Okay. We are telling you con on this particular bill. And 6214 creates powerful quasi-public land banks that concentrate control over property and housing policy in unelected bodies, expand government's role in the housing market, and risk long-term undermining of private property rights and community self-governance. Wow, was that a mouthful? So when we're looking at this, thinking through that, do we really want the government to be determining each and every movement that we're going to make? Do we want land banks? Do we want those kind of things? The bill authorizes counties to create land banks that can acquire, hold, control, and dispose of large amounts of land, often tax foreclosed or declared surplus, with special purchasing priority and tax advantages. These land banks can sell or lease land below market value, ignore the highest bidder, and steer property according to the politically defined equity goals, fundamentally distorting the housing market and picking winners and losers. Tell me in the comments what you think about, should we, I mean, does that sound like a biblical idea that we should have the government be controlling these land banks? SB 6214 embeds a permanent race-based framework on equitable planning mandate into local and policy, tying housing, taxes, and land transfer to progressive social engineering objectives rather than neutral justice or equal treatment under the law. So from a biblical perspective, equal treatment under the law is what we believe, and that we should have neutral justice and not be picking winners and losers based upon external qualities, what's the word I'm trying to say? Attributes. That's the word I was trying to say. So think through that. 6214 requires every participating county to establish a land bank advisory board stacked with representatives of planners, developers, advocates of affordable housing for marginalized communities, and renter representatives, but not necessarily property rights advocates, faith-based ministries, or taxpayers. So it's a very bias-based board, it appears. And FPIW action supports fair access to housing, but also insists that the state budgets and programs reflect justice, stewardship, and compassion rather than becoming permanent vehicles for special interest and ideological agendas. All right. So anything on this that you're thinking at 6214, we are telling you, nope. We do give you a paragraph on each of these. If you click in here, it's right here. Cost, taxes, and housing first style policy drift. To qualify for state grants, counties must levy a new local tax dedicated to subsidize housing, remove local citing barriers for permanent supportive housing and speed permits for income restricted projects, effectively tying more tax and more housing first style tactics to participation. So this is just a bunch of, I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. So FPIW actions, housing, and priority principles call for systems that allow citizens to secure safe, stable housing appropriate to their means, while ensuring public resources are not wasted or misused. They also call out abuse and property confiscation and overreach by state agencies. SB 6214 grows a new layer of quasi government entities with special tax exemptions and land preferences, increasing the size and reach of government in housing rather than empowering families, churches, and local ministries to address the need. So, I don't know. It just seems like another one of those bills that is going to form another board that becomes intrusive on our life and creates land banks and doesn't use common sense policy that says, no, let's have free, fair, open markets. What do you think? Uh, Place your thoughts in the comments as we go. So we're going to register our position on this bill. I just my the app for me works better. I can do this over here, but I do like this better. So I'm going to register con on this particular bill. So I select my position and I can hit con, and we're going to autofill. There we go. And we're going to put in there, I'm not a robot. There we go. And I just told my legislator how I felt about SB, Senate Bill 6214. Now I'm clicking right up here at the top. If you're looking at the screen, I'm circling my mouse around how I'm going back. Bam, right there. And I'm going to click done. Now, if you have a non-iPhone and you have like a Samsung or something, that button may not be there. So then you may have to do this. You may have to go out of that page and go back into the app and then click done. Either way, it's going to get you there. So that we register our position on Senate Bill 6214. Thoughts, comments, challenges? I don't know. Maybe pushback. Do I have it wrong? Is it possible I have it wrong? I guess it could be. Anything's possible. So I registered my position that way. Again, I could have testified, sign up to testify remotely or in person, or do that in writing if I so choose to do it. All right. Remember, I am using the Washington Defender app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store to do this. It's really snazzy and easy to do. Now, let's say like this bill, I wanted to share within my huddle to get those involved in my huddle to take action. I would simply click share. Our huddles are a place where we can come together and from a grassroots movement. And I have my Brian test huddle here. I thought I had my Brian test huddle. I may have deleted myself from the Brian test huddle. Okay, so I'm not coming up in the Brian test huddle. So let's go join that huddle first. And I was cleaning this up today. So go huddles. And you guys all know I use the Brian test huddle for, there I am. There's one member, but it must not be me. All right, so I'm going to join this huddle. Join. I unjoined myself somehow earlier today. All right, so I'm going to go back to activate. And that was 6214. So I'm going to go back over to 6214 right there. And I wanted to share that in my huddle so that people in there I am, Brian Test, or I can type it up here, Brian. And there it comes up. And let's take action, government overreach. All right. Boom. So I'm going to share that because I want people in my huddle to take action on that. I also want them to take action on this one, share. And we're going to put that into Brian Test. And that's just where I put things so that I'm not pinging everyone's phone. And that one was 6049, and that one was on transparency. Maybe to get people in my huddle to do it, let's not hide the ball in government secrecy. Okay. So I shared that into my huddle. Now let's go over to the huddle and we're going to see if those are there. So if I go to huddle, I'm clicking right here on huddle. Those grassroots huddles are there for you to lead a group of people in your community or however or across the state so that you can take action together. Okay. Just like a football huddle. So there they are. All right. And it says, let's not hide the ball in the government. You say, I want to edit that. So if I click on this, I can edit my post and I can add more to it, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I come over here and I say, I want to add this over into it to it. Okay. Update the post. Okay. I got to add a topic. Okay. So I can add that into the post, and now that big long paragraph, it's there. A lot of it's hidden, but they can see whatever I want. So I could have copy pasted anything. And the other one there is there as well. Okay. 6214. And so we said con on both of those. All right. So let's go on over to we have one more bill that we're going to cover this evening, and that is HJM 4009. And we're actually this is a wildfire bill. And the reason why this is important to me is because if you live in the Spokane area, here it is, 4009. So it's at 9:30. Let's see if I can find it. Right there it is. And it's an environmental bill. If you live in the Spokane area, you know that we have fire season. And what do I mean by that? During August, sometimes beginning of September, sometimes July, the air quality here gets so horrible because we do not maintain our forests and steward them with excellence. What we have is we have environmental people who say, just leave it alone, just let it be. And then we have lightning come through, and bada bing, bada boom, we have huge forest fires. This is not a healthy way to take care of our environment, nor is it what God commanded us to do. He said to cultivate and keep, 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 keep the land. He didn't say just leave it alone and let it do its own thing. So HJM is a common sense, safety focused request to Congress that aligns with biblical stewardship, care for neighbors, and responsible government. And it should be strongly supported. So let's talk about what the bill is, why this fits with our values. FPIW action affirms that government is ordained by God to promote justice, protect the common good, and steward public resources wisely. Strengthening wildfire response is an act of stewardship, justice, and love for neighbor. The policy manuals in our policy manual, I can show you that. Environmental and disaster section states that government shares responsibility to care for creation, prevent environmental exploitation, and respond effectively when disasters like wildfires strike, especially protecting those most affected. So, protecting families and communities, HJM 4009, is about making sure Washington family homes, churches, and businesses are not left vulnerable when the federal government reorganizes firefighting agencies. Wise stewardship of creation. This bill affirms Washington's interest in healthy forests, watersheds, and air quality. Robust wildfire response is a practical expression of caring for God's creation and future generations. So we need to maintain these forests. This is not reckless change, it's responsible reform. Federal consolidations must be appropriate. But this memorial insists that be fully staffed, tested in time so that they do not reduce capacity during peak fire seasons. So I'm not sure, Lyle, if you're still listening. Any any other thoughts on this about HJM 40009? We think we have it right, but we want fire season to be dealt with, and we believe that that is through maintaining our forests with healthy um, stewardship. Okay, so if you want to register Pro on the web browser, you can do that here. Click Pro, or you can click right here. Click Pro. Okay. So we're going to register our position on this bill. Pro. We're going to fill that in. There we go. All right. We registered Pro. We told our elected officials we are for this bill. We need you to take care of our forests. Let's see here. Anything else on this that we want to talk about? We did those 4 bills. We registered our position. One last thing is we're hoping that you're growing spiritually each and every day. And so want to encourage you to dive into God's word. We know that if we change our hearts, we're going to change the public square. If we go into the public square with an empty heart, in other words, we go in not built up in God's word, not having a mindset of Christ or the mind of Christ in us, um, then we're going to respond to all the tensions of our day, whether it's work tension, political tension, whatever it might be. We're going to respond very, very differently to those tensions. And so, want to encourage you to get into the Word of God. And so, we have this available for you a couple of different ways. One, you can grow in God's Word. So, I just went to learn. People say, Brian, you do this too fast. I went to learn this button right here. See that big mouse? Learn. And I clicked on learn. Okay, so let me click off of it. I clicked on learn. So it says learn together, breaking down echo chambers. And there's a ton of stuff in here. There's grassroots, initiatives, legal, local, media, news, policy, school districts, churches, church circles, pastors, loving your neighbor. So click on grow. And we are encouraging you to do our daily devotion each and every day. We come to you with the word of God and share that so that you can grow in the very things of God. So if you want to share that in your huddle, you can go right there. Have you been sold out by family? You can share, and we'll put that into Brian Test, and then we can grow spiritually together. Okay, and so that will go to our huddle. And the huddle is again where we meet together so that we can do things. If you're say I'm less video and I want more words, I'm foreknown by God. I'm a joint heir with Christ. This one I wrote today. I write one every day, but I just love this. I'm foreknown by God, and we talk about what does it mean to be foreknown. So you could share this in your huddle as well. Okay, so you could hit share. Brian's test gets a lot of great stuff shared to it. Share in your huddle. Now, if you want to start a huddle with us, just contact FPIW, and we would love to get that set up for you. So read this. It will encourage you. Okay, so when I go over to my huddles, that information should be right there. I foreknew. There it is in a devotion. And then we have our stuff that we want to do with our government involvement, our stewardship there. Right here, we're praying for Governor Ferguson to come to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And so if you want to join in that prayer, that would be great. Let's see. Maybe you want to share some news in your huddle. You can go over here and you can go down to either through media or through news. Let's do news. And we'll do, here's local news. That one's being built. That's under construction. So let's go to state. And there's a lot of great things that you can share as news into your huddles. Like maybe you want to share this one here about Tri-Cities lawmakers introduce package of bills. April Connors. Here's Democrat Destiny, the impact of mass immigration. You could go over now. Watch this on the center square. They don't put stuff inside of the app. So see how that flipped? It's taking you outside of it. And so, but let's say if you're like, hey, I want to share this story right here into my huddle. Just come down here and click that URL, hit copy, go back over to here, click your huddle like that, post, and say great article by the center square, and paste that article in. I didn't really see what it was about, but we'll just do that for right now. I didn't really pay attention. If I wanted to add a photo, I could. Bada bing, bada boom. Now that is in my huddle. Okay, right like that. You can make it look more beautiful if you want. There's other ways to do it, but look at this. It's going to take you right over to that center square. Jury awards nearly 31 million to family of teen killed during 2020 Seattle's CHOP protest. That went over well, didn't it? The CHOP protest. Okay, that's a center square story. And so you can share things within your huddle. Maybe you're on a web browser and you're like, man, I think, I don't know, like, let's go to our FPIW's. We'll go here. And then you want to share something like this web page about registering to vote. Let's go down here. Registering to vote. Let's click here for more information. All right, I want that to be shared in my huddle. I can go here. Again, I can go post anything. And now I have a board of, let's make sure our friends are registered. All right. And you can put in there voting if you want. See if we have voting. STUV. I don't see it. So sometimes these things, you just got to pick something. All right. So you put voting and you share it. And now that link is right there. And look at people in your huddle can go right over there and get the information that you want to share with them. Voter registration. So the huddle is just a place for you to interact and to grow and to be a part of. You can comment, you can like, oh, I like that article. You can pray, you can share those things. Couple of those who are in here, you're wanting a one place source to find out, all, if not most, or if not all of, here's Ari Hoffman. Here's links to Church and State, uh, Emerald City Exile, the Heidi St. John Show, the Impact, Inside Olympia, the Jason Rantz Show. Here we have Life Talk Northwest, a Catholic channel, Radio Free Readout, Them Before Us, the Washington Defender podcast, Undivided. Look at all these. We have all these in here to these different podcasts that you can listen to and to know. You can even look by journalists. Here we have Jonathan Cho. Here we have TJ Martin now, Carlene Johnson, Glenn Morgan. Let's go check out. I had a great time with Glenn this last week. There we go. There's Glenn, okay, going through his stuff. And so you can get to a lot of these things through the app. It's kind of a one-stop shop for all conservative news. Here we have the Carrie Abbott Show, Undivided. This is me, the Washington Defender podcast, our daily devotion, DDD, Daily Defender Daily Devotion. So you can check that out there as well. So there's just a lot of things within the Washington Defender app that you can check out. So I'm about done. We went through 4 bills. We went through 6049, 6214. On those 2 particular bills, we're asking you to register con. Again, if you're over here, you can find them over here. If you're in the app, you can go right here and find them. And I again encourage you to hit done when you're done registering your position on those bills. I think I missed the one on fire, 4009. Did I not hit done on that one? So, oh no, I did done. I did those 3 right there. And then one, I did it in writing. And 6104, you still can do a written testimony on that particular bill. Remember, you could just, if you want to do a written testimony, 6104, you can go here and hit written testimony. brings you to 6104. I like to submit a written testimony right there, and you click on that, and you can give a written testimony. So I hope this has been helpful. Any questions that you have, place those in the comments. I'll just wait for just a few seconds before I move on. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this time and seeing what we can do and many of the bills that are out. I got a couple hearts coming up. Any other hearts out there that people want to give us a thumbs up or a heart or whatever? We really do appreciate you doing that. So one of our biggest goals, one of our main goals, is that we can um, mobilize the grassroots all across the state. So if you'd like us to talk to your pastor, or if you'd like us to talk to your deacons or elders, if you'd like us to talk to a Sunday school class, whatever, we're here to help mobilize those grassroots and to get them actively involved in one of the institutions that God ordained, and that is the institution of government. So remember, there's 5 basic institutions. Individual, God's given us each personal responsibility. He's given us a family. He's given us the church, he's given us the government, and he's given us the employer-employee relationships. And so we would love to come and be a part of educating people on stewarding any of those 5. It's very important that we are able to maintain personal responsibility, family responsibility, church responsibility, government responsibility, and employer relationships. So we'd love to talk to you about those as well. Any questions in the comments? I don't see any. So I hope that you'll go out there and that you will defend and advance biblical values in the public square. God bless.
You love our beautiful state, but does fighting for issues that most affect families ever feel like you're climbing alone? It can feel like an uphill climb in a hostile environment that champions causes detrimental to Washington families. Again and again, the summit feels out of reach, but you don't have to climb alone. With like-minded people fighting for Washington families by your side, the journey becomes not just possible, but powerful. The Defender app, brought to you by the Family Policy Institute of Washington, connects you with your team for the climb ahead. Connect with conservatives who care about issues affecting families in your specific county and across our state in order to make our voices be heard locally and in Olympia. Simply click Learn to stay informed about the latest news affecting families. With one click, press Huddle to team up with other conservative minds in your specific county who care about how these issues affect you in your unique community. Then simply press Activate to get involved and to make your voice heard on legislation that matters in Olympia. With the Washington Defender app, you won't face the fight alone. Together, we can make a difference for families in Washington. Download the Washington Defender app today, a simple way to let your voice be heard.